Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, the Democratic Party, can they survive? Good morning and welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. It is August 4th. August 4th, Monday. Like I said in previous telecasts, can you believe the whole summer is almost gone? I got to go to my coffee right now. I got up really early to do the show. It's the kids' first day of school. Avis is a senior. Finley is a sophomore. I got up. I got breakfast ready to deploy it because I don't know if they're going to eat it. Nobody wanted breakfast. Turns out Avis has picture day. She went out the door before I even got out there. I thought I heard something at the door. And Finley, she just wanted lunch. She didn't want breakfast. And then I saw her out there eating. But I can't keep track of it. But let me tell you something. School has started. Now, when I was a kid, school started in September, like September 4th through 7th, 8th, somewhere in there. And my kids, we live in Georgia. I grew up on Long Island in New York. And these kids go to school in the summer. I mean, August was the summer. We were going to the beach, we were surfing, running around, doing all kinds of stuff. No, here it's, and of course they get out earlier. They get out in May, but would I rather have off most of a good part of May and all of June, or would I rather have off in August? And August is hotter than June. I would rather have off in August and not have to be in a classroom. But I have to say, now I'm the parent and they're not home in August, and my wife and I, and just Bat, our little baby, he's 2 years old now, we have off in August. So I can do some really fun daytime stuff with my wife. Send the teenagers off, my friends. Send the teenagers off. I love it. So, viewer mail, I'm going to come right out the gate. Tom McCabe of Scranton, Pennsylvania writes, "Hey Daniel, what's your take on the whole Stephen Colbert thing?" Sent by his iPhone. Well, okay. I really do believe both sides. I'm not just accusing the Democrats, because both sides do it. I just hang on to that thing I heard Barack Obama say when he said, yeah, if you throw enough crap at it, if you just keep throwing stuff at it, eventually, people just keep hearing it and they go, wow, did you hear about Trump? He did terrible things in New York. Or did you hear about, Biden? He did blah, 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 or Hillary or this one. And a lot of it is either manufactured, exaggerated, or just straight out untrue lies set to hurt the person, which we're going through right now with Obama. The Late Show on CBS was canceled, not due to Colbert himself, but as a financial decision by CBS. The network stated the cancellation was driven by a challenging late-night landscape and the desire to restructure, according to CNBC. While some speculate about political motivations, given Colbert's criticism of former President Trump, CBS maintains it is purely an economic choice. Okay. So all the way back to Saturday Night Live, when I was a kid, Danny Aykroyd and, different people that were on that show, they took shots at presidents. They accused them of being criminals. They accused them, topical stuff that was being thrown around in the news and media around the world. Of course, we didn't have online and all the stuff we have today, but they definitely reflected a movement, a culture. The younger generation coming out of the 60s wanting to voice their disappointment and their outrage with some of the things that big business, big government were supposedly responsible for. Now, like Obama said, they have entire departments, agencies, where they just distract everybody from what's going on right now about Barack Obama and this Russia thing with Hillary, and they're onto it. They got papers to support it. So why don't we say that Trump, even though he was never on the island with Epstein, let's start printing up like boatloads of pictures of anything we can find throughout history where we're standing there with anyone that's young. Anyone. And you write the caption when the hand is on the shoulder and you say, that underage girl is seen at this party with them. it was at a graduation for his family. It was at, or whatever it is. I think you get the idea. They can make a picture speaks 1,000 words. And if you add words below the picture, you can really make somebody look bad if that's what you decide to do. So, Stephen Colbert, his show, his salary, I believe, was $20 million. The show was losing a reported $40 to $60 million a year just for the production and the salaries and everything for the show. Refinancing, trying to keep CBS alive, $60 million in the hole. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure. Now, if what's being fueled, and it's about the earth, about science, about math, something that helps children, something that the funding goes to, that helps underprivileged people in countries that need our help, blah, 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 blah. You get it. If there's a cause, then maybe eat the money. But if I'm a guy who's coming in to run the network and I start looking for the first, where can I save tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars? And I work down the scale. This department costs X amount of dollars. It's $500 million a year. We're not really making money on it, or we're losing money on it. Do you have to have a news program? Do you have to have news on your network? Well, yeah, you got to have news. Well, our news isn't making that much money. Well, let's figure out a way to improve the news. We have to have news programs. Okay. We're moving down into what's costing us 50 or more million. Hey, some late night TV choices. This guy's been on a long time. He costs a lot of money. His show has slipped in the ratings considerably. It may not be that popular a decision because he does have, fans, and he speaks his truth. It's on the left side of the aisle. What do we do? I'm sorry, tell me the number again. $50 million for a late night TV show. He's not reporting the news. He's reporting his and his constituents' opinions with writers. And he takes shots at, he's definitely, he's a lefty coming out of the bullpen. He's throwing for the Democrats. Yeah, get rid of that. 50 mil, 60 mil. He costs 20 mil and he's not making any money. He's costing us money. He's costing us money. Well, get rid of him. Get rid of him. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like Stephen Colbert. That doesn't mean I don't find him funny. I don't find him informative. Do I necessarily agree with everything he says? Do I agree with much of what he says? It doesn't matter. The show was losing a lot of money. It's a business. This isn't some charity function. This isn't feed the homeless over at the church. We lost some money last week. We need to get the parishioners to step up because there's a lot more homeless people in the winter. We got to expand the shelter and add more beds and blah, 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 blah. This is a business. It's the business of television. You sell the slots to advertise for X amount of dollars. So if Colbert's show was doing well, if he was clean, even hanging on, then 30 seconds on his show, it's literally a mathematical equation. Forget about all your feelings and all the popularity and all the other bullshit. Forget about it for a minute. On Colbert, you can sell a 30-second ad for $50,000. Let's just make it 50. A minute-long one is a little bit of a break. It's not double. It's not 100. It's 85,000. How many $85,000 slots do you have to sell in order to cover him, cover all the costs of the show, and start to make money? Can we move up the cost to rival, say, Kimmel or this guy or that guy, or back in the day, Johnny Carson or David Letterman or, Conan O'Brien? But can you sell the slots based on how much he commands per slot? The popularity of him and his show. Forget about whether people are writing on the internet, oh, this is a political move from Donald Trump. Look what they did to Stephen. No. The guys that are crying are the guys in the back room who are trying to sell the 15, 30, and 60-second commercial slots, and the pressure's on because they got to get 150 grand. This guy's show costs a lot of money. He's costing us money, and we're not able to make those sales. That's the bottom line, baby. That's it. Stop BSing yourself. Stop listening to the curve. Stop listening to what the writers at other places are trying to convince you of, that some political favor was done for the Trump administration because they didn't like the stuff. What, Stephen Colbert's the first one to criticize the president? They've been doing it since I can remember. They teed up on Nixon. the Saturday Night Live crowd. It's much more common now. They have entire shows. My show, this show, I sit here and tell you how bad it is on both sides, but nowhere near do I say it's as bad on the Republican side as it is on the Democrat side. And I predicted many things accurately to you. Many things that are still going to happen, that I told you are going to happen. I told you, Barack Obama is not going to go down in the memory of this country, the history of the world, as he's going to have a favorable opinion on him. Watch the crap this guy was doing. Wait till it all comes out, and this is just some of it. Watch it, if it ever really comes out. Stuff I know he was responsible for, or I know happened under his watch. I'll say that for sure. It happened under his watch. Not going to be favorable. Joe Biden? Oh my God, poor Joe. Poor Joe. I mean, he just did a speech. I mean, he's not okay. And so let's just say that with cancer and everything that's going on, that we wish him well, and we wish that, maybe there's something at an MD Anderson or something like that can help save this guy. But his performance, no matter what the reason, whether the cancer played a role in this, whether he had, cognitive issues for other neurological disorders or autoimmune or whatever they're going to say it is, he should not have been president. He should not have been elected. People knew, including his wife. They knew. They knew about this guy, and they let him take it. They let him take it. His whole history will be so tarnished had he just stepped down, but now stuff that they did while he was president. And I don't think that he was fully cognitive of all the auto pen stuff and a lot of the stuff that they did. The yard sale that they had the last couple of months where they gave away, I don't know, I think it was Kennedy down in Louisiana said they gave away $93 million in like 3 months as a going away gift to all their friends. 93 billion, billion. Let me put this to you another way. Let me just end this email. I know it's a long time to go in an email, but I want to, and I leave it right in front of me, and I forget to turn it over. So God knows how long I've gone already. So maybe I'll go till just half the crystal ball is the hourglass is done, because I've been ranting and raving on Tom McCabe from Scranton, Pennsylvania's Colbert question. Let's assume nothing right now for a second. I just want to flip the table a little bit. So, okay, I got a good example. So Joe Biden gets elected president. He's in his first year of his 4-year term. And one of the most popular nighttime talk shows, Kimmel, I think he's up there, and Jimmy Fallon are probably the two that wrestle each other for the title. Okay. And so Fallon or Kimmel come out and they start just burying Biden. They're just crushing him. He's this, he's that, and Biden, outwardly, has to be cool about how he says it. Because, don't understand what happened with Jimmy. I don't know what happened to the Jimmys, why they're saying these things about me. They're not true. I heard, Mr. President, did you hear that Jimmy Kimmel said that you were blah, 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 blah? Yeah, no one watches that show. You pull the Trump kind of stuff. Who cares? Show slipped in the ratings. And it's number one. The show's number one. And the president calls his boys. I'm imagining how this would have happened to Stephen Colbert. The president calls his boys from the White House and says, hey, talk to those guys over at NBC. Talk to those guys over CBS, ABC, no matter what the network is. And they say, we'd like you to get rid of that show. We'd like you to cancel that number one show. Number two. Number three. We want you to cancel that number 3 show. What do you think the network would say to the White House if they were making money hand over fist? If this was Friends. Friends said some bad stuff. They started doing a segment where they criticized the president. And the president's White House called up and said, hey, you tell that Matthew Perry, you tell that guy he better not tell jokes anymore about President Biden, or else. They would say, F you. What are you talking about? Show's number 1 show, show's number 2. It's doing really, really well. It's making the network a lot of money. Sponsors are really happy with it. And what they criticize you, and you got to pull your big boy panties up a little bit? Is that the problem? Huh? Need a little fem iron, Joe? What do you need? That's right. That's the point. If you put the reverse on it, you realize how ridiculous it is that a president could call a network and tell the network to cancel a show that was doing well. Now, is anyone in the Republican Party or in the Trump administration upset to see Colbert go? Probably not. Probably not. He's been critical of the president. He has not been a fan. He has not supported the president. He has X amount of people that do watch his show that he may have some influence over. And he perpetuates the Obama theory of carpet pounding certain ideas and certain theories that are clearly not true, that can sometimes be manufactured right out of the White House, Barack. Remember the whole Russian scandal in 2016 that you and Hillary cooked up, that you backed, that you're being exposed for right now? Fact of the matter is, Stephen Colbert had his run. He was no longer a money-making, successful element for the network to keep on and spend that money on, and they let him go. That's the bottom line. So to write up all this nonsense and to try to believe it for a second really makes me sick, actually. So that's the end of viewer mail. Thanks for the letter. By the way, hit subscribe or hit like for watching the show. I would really appreciate it. It really helps us here to be able to stay on the air and do stuff and take your messages and your mail and do stories that we like to hear. So if you can share and if you can like and you can subscribe, share the show. Get other people to watch the show. We need that. So I appreciate you for doing it too, by the way. TikTokers, YouTubers, people who are watching on different social media sites. I say thank you so much for it. I appreciate it. I wanted to take a minute to read this. I don't do it often. Michael Madsen just recently, who was a very close friend of mine. This person wasn't a super close friend of mine. Lonnie Anderson passed away. She died at a Los Angeles hospital following a prolonged illness. Her longtime publicist, Cheryl J. Kagan, said in a statement to Fox News Digital, she was surrounded by her loving family. We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our dear wife, mother, and grandmother. Anderson's family said in a statement. Over 4 decades, Anderson starred in various TV shows and films, including SWAT, 3 on a Date, Three's Company, The Incredible Hulk, The Love Boat, The Newhart Show, and more. I bring her up because my first role ever, the first thing I ever did movie-wise was a movie called Too Good to Be True. And I'll tell you the story quick. Lonnie was a big TV star then, WKRP in Cincinnati, and she was I worked with Valerie Bertinelli too, who was a huge TV star. People grew up with them, and loved Lonnie. She was also with Burt Reynolds at the time, was her boyfriend. So he was another huge movie star. He was more a movie star than a TV guy, but huge. And he showed up on set with her the first couple of days. And the first day I had to work with the first day of shooting, I had to rub suntan lotion on her. Maybe I'll pull up a picture. You can take a picture of it from Too Good to Be True. Show that picture. So you can see we're out on a dock, and I got to rub suntan lotion on Lonnie Anderson, and she's in a bathing suit, and she's very voluptuous, and I'm nervous because I'm supposed to kiss her in the scene. First of all, Bert's there, and he was not very kind to me. He was like, I said, "Hey, Bert, nice to meet you, Daniel Baldwin." And he goes, "Yeah, how you doing?" Yeah. So I thought, is he not like me because I got to go kiss his girlfriend? I don't know, but that made me more nervous because I was really looking forward to meeting him, and he wasn't very kind to me. So I get out there, and you're not going to kiss in rehearsal. So, and you don't actually put the oil on her and everything. So, and the director, and then you put the oil right here. Lonnie, are you okay with him on your shoulder here? And she, yes, that's fine. And then, of course, you come around and you meet eyes, you talk, you sit in, and then at the end, and then you kiss Lonnie. And so we just kind of looked at each other. And so they're blocking. They're getting the physical moves of the scene, then we're going to go back to hair and makeup. Well, I have to tell you, obviously you as viewers know, I'm not shy, I'm not reluctant or apprehensive or whatever word you want to use to describe it. But I was scared shitless. I was intimidated by the idea that I had to kiss a woman in a scene, particularly a very famous woman. So I go into makeup, and Julie Harris, who was on Knots Landing, veteran of film and theater, you know, somebody we all look up to that are, you know, actors know, and was friends with my brother Alec, because she did a TV series with him. And so I'm standing, she's coming out of the trailer, and I said, Julie, can I talk to you for a minute? She says, oh, hi, I heard you were on the movie, and how is Alec? And I said, he's great. He says to say hi. And I said, I have to ask you a question. And I'm kind of embarrassed to ask her, but she's this, you know, this rock in the business and very, you know, knows the theater and so on. And I said to her, I have to kiss Lonnie. I'm really not sure what to do. I've never kissed anyone on film before. So she turns around and she says, well, you know, usually you can see if the person's married or you're in a relationship or whatever, you want to be very respectful, you can let them kind of take the lead. So if you press your lips up against their lips and they don't, you know, start to kiss you, then don't try to kiss them. Let the woman lead it. And I thought, okay. So I felt safer. You could see she had this almost motherly smile on her face, Julie, telling me this, because she was like, oh, this poor kid, he doesn't know what he's doing. So anyway, I get down there, it's game clock time, you know, I put the oil on her, camera's rolling, I try to lead him, and I go, and she like pulls me, she's the leads it, she pulls me in, she's having a relationship with the guy I work for, she's in a relationship with him. And so it was based on the Gene Tierney movie, Leave Her to Heaven, where she kills this little boy, who was Neil Patrick Harris in the movie. One of his first roles I think he ever had was with me on this film. So anyway, Lonnie pulls it and she lays one on me and just kisses me, full on kiss. And at first, I doubt they used that take because I was like, whoa, okay. And we kissed. But she was so kind to me. She could see I was nervous and I could see her lip was shaking. Like she was nervous to kiss me, maybe because he was there or whatever, I don't know. But a more loving, generous, genuine person. I never maintained really a friendship with her. I would see her and she'd always be very kind. Hi, Daniel, you know. Every once in a while I'd bump into her in Malibu or at some kind of function that we were both supporting. But I wanted to say that a piece of history with me, you know, my first on-film kiss, and with a really classy woman, a great representative of females in Hollywood, and she's gone. So we wish her well and know that she'll be received in heaven. So goodbye, Lonnie, and thank you for all your kindness. All right, now let's get to what I'm going to talk about on the show today. That was a long segue to get into all of it. While politicos are keenly watching Harris for her next moves, she's also being eyed by House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, who is investigating whether top Biden administrative officials covered up evidence of a mental decline in former President Joe Biden. Comer all but guaranteed his committee would be contacting Harris during an appearance on the Ingraham Angle last week. He joined Fox News Channel just after Harris announced she would not be running for governor of California, as some speculated, and will instead embark on a listening tour to hear from Americans and try to boost fellow Democrats across the country. So here's Kamala Harris, Attorney General, Senator, former Vice President, failed at running for president at her run. When I heard that she might run for governor, I thought, is that a wise way to keep her in the limelight? And arguably financially, you know, that in New York, the two biggest states in the United States, being governor would be, and would she be able to beat Gavin? I think she probably would. She'd be able to parlay the vice presidency with a state that's so Democratic. that she might be able to take him out. But at the last minute now, she's decided not to, and I wondered why. Because if she does nothing but travel around boosting, people's awareness of the Democratic Party, is that going to be enough not to be in the game doing something to get her the nod with the Democrats? I personally think that would be, I welcome it, because I think she'd get her ass kicked again. I do. I think that even if she had been governor, but I thought of being governor, she would stay in politics and we would see her. Otherwise, she's Geraldine Ferraro to me. Great lady, tried hard, had her chance, lost it. History. Never heard really much from her afterwards. And today, where is she? Does anyone even know where Geraldine Ferraro ended up going? Since she ran. So let me give you the list of the top 10 Democrats for the 2028 run for presidency. Cortez, rep from New York, Ocasio. She's number one. Right now, they're saying that she is definitely the most popular, very controversial. I'm worried for her that the outlandish stuff, it's kind of like Trump with the Republicans initially. It may be a little too much, even for the Democrats, although maybe not. They're going to do whatever they have to do to win. Here's where I think is a strong one, and that's Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Shapiro, I think, is a move up for the Democrats, as well as number 3, which is Michigan Governor, and they thought about her, I believe, Gretchen Whitmer. So those two, Shapiro and Whitmer, I predict will be one of the two that runs. That's who I think they're going to get. It's one of those two. And remember the theory, like JFK when he took on Lyndon Johnson. He was young, the youngest ever. He was a Catholic. That mattered. He's still the only Catholic to be elected president. So he's young, he's Catholic. Relatively unknown, senator from Massachusetts. Father's got a lot of money and got a lot of contacts. And he wins, but he brings in Lyndon Johnson, which delivers Texas for him, which he desperately needed. He desperately needed Texas to beat Richard Nixon. So when you bring in Whitmore or you bring in Shapiro, remember, you should probably be delivering Pennsylvania or Michigan. And in this time of those swing states right in that region, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, which one of these brings in a close race the 1 or 2 states that you have to have? Who's going to bring that? So those are my 2 front runners, well above Cortez. I don't think. Now, next on the list is Gavin Newsom. Now, remember something. Traditionally, California is a Democratic state. They vote Democratic, so they don't need Gavin Newsom being governor there. The question is Gavin Newsom. They're already going to, whoever runs is going to probably get California anyway, the most electoral college votes. And then New York is second. So do they need Gavin Newsom? Is Gavin Newsom the guy? I don't think so. I think that there's a lot of skeletons. I think a lot of stuff would come out. I think if you stay with somebody who's a little less profile and build the product that you need America to see, which is what they tried to do with Harris. They just spent a lot of money and threw it at her to get her image. But then when she opened her mouth and talked, people were like, this lady doesn't sound very bright. And she's a little weird for us. That you're not going to get that from Whitmer. You're not going to get that from her. She's a politician. She's going to come in and deliver the speeches and not be questioned. You're going to question her views. You're going to question what she believes in and her record, but you're not going to have the problems that you had with Kamala Harris. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is number 5. I don't know the profile of coming out of Maryland, and I haven't heard much about, but I will say this. If you're going to pick, and I think the Democratic Party, here's the problem. What is the future of the Democratic Party? Who is the future? Who's the face? Why are you going to wait? It's already a half a year. Before you start to really prop somebody up, it'll be a year. And then you've got 3 years to really build your case. to sink this in, do that Barack Obama thing and bombard people with what's going on in Pennsylvania, what's going on in Michigan, what's going on in Maryland, whoever your horse is that you're going to back. Here's the other problem. You're going to put these people in, if there's a primary, I guarantee people on this list are going to enter that primary for the Democratic Party, and they're going to beat each other up. And now there's a science to this. They take the things that you said, they're going to take the things that Gavin Newsom says about Governor Josh Shapiro and his record on this and his record on that and what he said here and what happened to him at a party in 1989 and blah, blah, and his tweets, and they'll build a case that'll make you think this guy is an alien from another planet, or Putin's best friend, or he robs the rich, or he robs the poor and gives to the rich, and blah, blah, blah. They'll build the case. Then you got to face that record and all those ads when you win, when you run for president against a Republican. You're going to have to listen to what these people say about each other. So that's why I think if they could get together and say, number 6 on the list, former Vice President Kamala Harris, that ship has sailed. I mean, listen, I hope that they think that she's the one. I do, because J.D. Vance will be president of the United States. He will. He will. So if they pick Kamala Harris, if that's who wins the primary, Kamala, great. Put her in. I love it. We'll be sitting there with our carving knives going, shh, and we'll cut that to pieces. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Again, I think he's an interesting choice. I just, I don't hear enough coming out. Of course, there's Chicago, which is a huge city, but you usually hear more about the mayor of Chicago than you hear about the governor of Illinois. So again, they would have to take this guy and they'd have to prop him up. They'd have to get word out about him, get America conscious of him. What's he doing for Illinois that's great? Why is he the guy that we should get behind and we should vote for? Why would Democrats want him to be president? Or why would he be better than the Republicans' answer, which will be the vice president after this last 4 years with Trump? So Vance versus this guy. I don't know much about him. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. I think he's too controversial. I think he's very susceptible on camera. You can provoke him. You can get him fiery to a point of where he doesn't seem presidential. So I think of you, again, I don't think he has a chance. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Now, he would bring Chicago and probably the state of Illinois with him. He was popular. Again, I don't think he's enough. And then the most interesting thing I read was number 10, media commentator Stephen A. Smith. He's in number 10 of the top 10. And I guess, through criticisms that he's put out there, he is now considered a potential Democratic Party candidate. And he's been pretty critical of the Democratic Party. He's had it out with the girls on The View, which, by the way, there's about 5 of the girls on The View, 4 or 5, that I've known over the years, particularly Whoopi, and Whoopi probably the best. I've done some stuff with her before, and Joy. I guess they don't have people that support the right on the show anymore. I'm looking at their show list. They haven't had somebody who supports the president. I got to get back on that show. I got to go on that show. And I got to ask them. I want to ask them questions. I want to ask them questions. Because I get the gap of what they support versus what they formally have done. When I look at back in the day with Trump and almost every one of the members of that show, they were all his buddies. He'd come on, they'd kiss him hello, and they talk, what would happen if you ran for president? They even posed the question, what would happen if you ran for president? What would it be like if you were president? Like they egged him on to run for president. And now he's president and they're no longer fans. They're so critical. I mean, Whoopi is venomous towards people and things, anything that has to do with the Republican Party. And it's crazy. I mean, I get it's called The View, and usually they try to dot it with like far left, a far right, a middle ground, a middle ground, and you get an expression of both big political sides of the country and their opinion. But this clearly doesn't seem to have much support at all for the administration and for the president and for Republicans in general. It's a slaughterhouse. So much so that even their guests aren't even people that have other opinions. So has The View just decided it's going to give up on the right side and those people that might watch their show? Is that far gone? Maybe it is. In which case, you'll see that Colbert effect. You'll see the show get canceled. And will there be a lot of women screaming and crying saying that Donald Trump got The View canceled? Well, no, but it doesn't cater to the entire population. Remember something. This president won the election. He won the Electoral College. It wasn't even close, considering 7 states that he had to take 3. He needed these 2. He took all 7. He won the popular vote. And he's come in there and done every single thing pretty much he said he was going to do. Some of them have taken a little longer time to get done, but even prices and everything are coming down now. He's been in for 6 months. So I don't know what The View is thinking. I thought of reaching out to a couple of different people, and I might still reach out to either Joy or somebody through social media. It's not like I have these people's phone numbers. They're not my best friends. But just to ask, I'd like to come on the show and talk about politics in general. My podcast, what I'm doing, what I'm working on, how we raise money in my family for breast cancer. And we have touched on a few things, but and what about your show? What's happened to the show? I'm a concerned viewer and a concerned citizen that feels like a show like this should have balance, and there doesn't seem to be any balance. So in summation, let me come back and say to you that for the Democratic Party to survive and be in the game election-wise come post-Trump, and I think the logical choice will be J.D. Vance coming out of a vice presidency. He's doing quite well, and he remains a favorite of the Republican Party. They need to start to look at who it is, at least the 2, who they're gonna lift and vault up to the top of the list. Like I told you, Pennsylvania and Michigan, those 2, Whitmer and Josh, they're my choices. They're my choices. So if they don't start to elevate, if something, watch, you'll start seeing more. They'll release things about what's going on in Pennsylvania. They'll release things about what's going on in Michigan. There'll be more camera time for these people because the Democratic Party will see to it that you, the listening audience, the watching audience, gets to see these people and are more familiar with their face. They want you to love that person. They want you to like that person. They want you to admire that person. You have to see them to do that. I don't know that they're going to be able to sneak somebody into the last year and say, hey, did you see what's happening over here? And you're all going to fall for that again. That's what they did with Obama. So that's the show. I am going to now say, are you ready? My prayer for today. And I pulled this one up and I wanted to read it. Father, thank you that you are the God who spoke worlds into existence. And you know how to bring net-breaking blessings to my net. Help me to start taking steps of faith that open the door to your favor. I'm going to keep believing your word and casting my net. In Jesus' name, amen. So, of course, we're talking about when no fish were going in the net. And Jesus said, throw it out again, have faith, throw the net back in the water. And they threw the net back in the water, and so many fish were in the net that he had to call one of his friends over with another boat to help him pull the nets in. The nets were ripping. So the nets in your life, Lord, may we allow the nets in everyone watching the show today, the nets in their lives, to be bulging and ripping with success. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on Friday.